guys, so today I wanted to talk to you a little bit. It's been a while, I feel like, since I've reacted to the what's going on in the English speaking world. I've been making a lot more of those videos in French, reacting to something and trying to just think about what's underlying this very specific event. So as you probably have guessed by the title, I'm going to talk about what's happened with Katy Perry. I feel like it is very... I feel like honestly it's kind of important for me as a feminist to address this. In case you didn't know, because maybe you didn't know. Actually, I didn't know. I just thought this morning a very quick video on my Facebook feed and I was like, oh my god, no. So before anything, I just want to say I do like Katy Perry. I know it may be a little bit surprising because she's been very criticized for cultural appropriation, for having said that she's not a feminist and different things, but I really enjoy her music. I mean, not that much her current music. I really did enjoy the first albums and I really enjoy her personality and what we can see of her. I think she's somehow, even though she's not claiming to be a feminist, I think she's offering a very new and fresh image of her as a woman. She's very feminine sometimes. She is very sexy sometimes, but she's also very funny. She's not refraining from saying anything. She's also very open with her bare face and just her body and her sexuality as well. I don't know, I feel like she's very down to earth and she's offering a very plural and diverse representation of herself, which is just very normal because as human beings we are complex and many in just one. So yeah, I don't really think she's like an archetype of what's so sexualized in society and all those things. Yeah, that's not what I think. So I want to react to what's happened with her on, what is it, American Idol, I think. She basically, I mean, you can research it for yourself, she basically kissed without asking or without any permission of or authorization. He was gonna kiss her on the cheek and she just turned her face and kissed him on the lips. And after that we learned that the boy had never been in a relationship and had never kissed anyone, and that he was saving his first kiss for someone he loved and he wanted it to be meaningful. This is not necessarily very important because no matter how many people you've kissed, you shouldn't be kissed when you don't want to be kissed. But I feel like it is adding to the fool because it's so... Honestly, it made me really sad when I read that this morning. I was like, that is so sad. I feel like she stole something from it, and it would have been just very bad and very wrong as well if this guy had had, you know, dozens of partners and whatever, but it is, you know, still a bit more sad. So I want to be very clear. No matter your gender, no matter who you are, it is just wrong and not acceptable to kiss someone without their permission, or to even touch someone without their permission in a way that's not... Good job, guy. It is just wrong. It is not something acceptable. It is not something that feminism has ever said to be okay. Feminism is, yes, for a form of sexual liberation. It is for an empowerment of women, but kissing someone when they've not agreed to it is neither of those two. Neither of those two. And as a feminist, I'm not going to turn a blind eye to this because it is a woman. In fact, I don't know if you've noticed, but I've always stayed away from any kind of statement that you see sometimes some feminists have or say that I just personally don't agree with. A quick example of that is I remember at one point a girl I knew very vaguely had a shirt that said something along the lines of "my heels are bigger or longer than your penis, so shut up," or something like that. And I remember that a few people were like thinking it was funny and whatnot, and I just didn't think it was funny at all. It's kind of like, it's different because here obviously we're talking about a form of sexual aggression, but here it's not a sexual aggression, of course, but it's still along the lines of we're reversing things, and we're attacking men on like their usual field of attack, which is sexualizing us, attacking us, insulting us, making us feel objectified and just very unsafe and uncomfortable. I do understand that the shirt for some people could be perceived as funny or, you know, witty or whatever. Just saying that, you know, a very feminine object that's seen as a sexualized and sexualizing object, the heels, is becoming stronger than the penis, who is the symbol of patriarchy, whatever. Okay, I get that, but I think it's just not efficient, not working, and clearly I'm not sure people were actually thinking of that when they made the shirt. For me, it's just playing the game of patriarchy, which is taking as the referent a male attribute, which is not a male attribute in biology and in the collective consciousness, and making it so that everything needs to be referred and compared to that, and making it like the base or the basics of strength and power and freedom or whatever. And I think it's also just playing the game of patriarchy, because it is saying that the longer, the bigger your penis is, basically the more manly you are, the more powerful you are. Even as a woman, the more powerful you can be. So I strongly disagree with that, because first of all, I think it is just not smart. I don't think it works. I don't think it makes the job. I think it's just playing the game of patriarchy and not like freeing ourselves from those representations and those images. Second of all, I think it's just very insulting, and that we would never accept the same for women when it comes to like boobs or butts or whatever, or the clit even. So I don't see why we should accept it for men. I'm really against any form of like shaming or like objectification of people, basically. No matter the gender, no matter what they've done in the past, I don't think it's bringing any good to do this. And as a feminist, I strongly refuse to do that, and I strongly advocate against that, because I do believe, for me personally, in my feminism, bodies are very important and have to be respected and have to be just glorified, but in a very positive way, in a very healthy way, in a very benevolent way, and certainly not in a shameful, sexualizing way at all. So to come back to the Katy Perry thing, I obviously think it is a huge wrongdoing. I don't think she realized what she was doing, obviously, but it doesn't excuse it in the slightest. One thing I want to say though, which I think is very important, is I love people who are like, if a man had done this, if she were a man, blah blah blah. I understand that people, when they say that, they're trying to make others realize, because for some people, you know, the idea that a man can be raped, the idea that a man can be attacked or violented or sexually abused, they don't believe in that, because men are strong and powerful, patriarchy, hello, and that women cannot be the aggressors. Obviously, women are very rarely the aggressors. And even in rape, like men that are being raped, most of the time, and the vast majority of the cases, the other, like the rapist, is a man as well. So that needs to be taken into consideration. But it needs to be understood that men can be abused, violented, uncomfortable, objectified as well. And feminism should never turn a blind eye to this. But it should not, like, you know, become the most important thing in the debate and in the discussion, because clearly it is a minority compared to what's happening to women worldwide, even in the West, okay? That needs to be clear as well. So I understand that people were trying to make others realize and understand how wrong it is, but I also feel like, even though it is equally wrong, it is not acceptable in any case, it is not the same if a woman does it and if a man does it. Why? Because as a woman, you don't put yourself in this sort of like tradition of abuse, of domination, and it clearly makes the situation somehow different. Not to say that it's not as wrong, not to say that it excuses anything, but I just want to say that socially like from a sociology and even like study perspective, I think it is not it's not really the same, because you're one incident that's not attached to any tradition or any other form of like domination or abusive behaviors that are present in society. It's more or less, I wouldn't say an isolated case, not to say that it's the only case, but I hope you understand what I mean. If you're a man, it clearly is. So I do believe it is very important to be aware of that, and also be aware of the fact that, once again, I don't want to excuse it. I think it's super wrong. Honestly, I'm so disappointed, and it really makes me sad for the young man. But I also just want to say, as a woman who lives in a patriarchal society, who is, obviously bombarded with all these images of what a man is, of what a man wants, the idea that, a man's never gonna say no, a man is always up for sex and for anything remote, like sexual or sensual, whatever. I think for a lot of women it's very difficult to understand, not because they want to forget it, not because they want to deny it, and not because they refuse to see men as, subjects, which is, I think, what a lot of men do. But I think because of how society portrays men, and how we are taught about men, and how we perceive masculinity and manhood and virility, I think for a lot of women it's very difficult to understand how, if they're being very sexually engaging, or even if they're doing something like Katy Perry did, that it is gonna put the man into a place of like, I feel violated, I feel very uncomfortable, I feel very bad about this. I'm not saying it excuses anything, once again, really no, and don't make me say what I didn't say. I'm just saying that because of how we portray men, I think it's very difficult for men to recognize themselves as victims and dare say, I didn't like the way she talked to me, I didn't like the way she touched me, I didn't like the way she kissed me, or whatever, And it's also sometimes difficult for women to understand, that men don't necessarily obviously like to be sexualized either. I think it's very obvious for us that men don't like to be sexualized by other men if they're not gay or bi. But when it comes to women sexualizing men, which quite frankly I haven't seen happening a lot though, I feel like men like to pretend that they're happy about it, and sometimes it's even something they reply with when they are confronted with, how would you feel if you were sexualized? They would be like, oh, that's actually flattering, I would like that. It's all pretending, honestly, because they first very likely don't have any experience of being sexually harassed or sexualized or objectified or whatever. And it's also because they have to portray and perform the masculinity and the manhood, which is very sexual, very dominant, very fierce, and always sexually hungry. So I think this event, is connected to a lot of different things in the feminist and gender studies theory. It is obviously very wrong, and as a feminist, I just want to be clear, no feminist is going to agree with that. No feminist is going to turn a blind eye to this. In fact, I just want to remind everyone that feminists are the ones who talk the most about sexual abuse on men, about the difficulty for men to live and perform their gender, for just how difficult it is to be a man because of patriarchy. So I really hope that you're not going to be one of those person that's going to take this as an excuse and be like, see, feminism is just ruining everything and feminism is just bullshit. Really, it is not. So yeah, thank you for watching this video. I'm sorry for my English, that really sucks probably, but I am really tired and I have a migraine, so it's really hard for me to focus even in my own language, so sorry for that, I apologize. Thank you for watching this video, I hope you find it interesting. Don't hesitate to follow me on Twitter and Instagram if you want, and I also have a Patreon, and for $1 a month I upload videos and pictures and little blog posts sort of, and it's really helping me with the channel, so thank you if you have $1 to spare. Yeah, thank you and I'll see you soon. Bye!